Yay! Welcome everyone to the Mango Publishing Heart Wisdom panel. I'm Sherry Reichert-Ballou, author of Say It Now, 33 Creative Ways to Say I Love You to the most important people in your life. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited. We have two returning authors, but they haven't been here for so long. We have Lily Dulan and Lisa McGinnis. And in just a minute, I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves. But before we do, when I was meditating this morning, something dropped in. So I'm going to go ahead and follow that nudge, which is that we're going to be talking about discovery, self-discovery, journaling as a tool for self-discovery. And I thought we'd start with just a quick minute of self-reflection. So if you don't mind just closing your eyes, taking a nice deep breath. We're all coming from so many places. Some of us have been rushing. I love that Lily's got her hands on her heart. If you want to put your hands on your heart to connect to your own breath, connect to your own being. We're all right here in this beautiful circle. I'm feeling grateful to see all of you. And I just want you to consider, as you're taking some deep breaths, why are you here right now? What was it that called you to be here in this circle with us? And as you're thinking about that, as you're thinking about why you decided to be here today, maybe consider, what do you hope to experience in this next hour? What would you like to feel? Maybe you want to feel some calm. Maybe you want to feel connected to other people. Maybe you want to feel connected to yourself. Maybe you want to just feel this curiosity of learning something new and being in a great, fascinating conversation. Can you feel that feeling right now? Can you imagine? Here you are in this circle, feeling what you want to feel. And then just take a couple more nice deep breaths. Breathing in and breathing out. Really letting yourself get grounded and centered here in this beautiful circle. Safe, it's warm. We're going to have some great conversation. And then when you're ready to open your eyes, and I know you might not all have something to write with, but if you do, if you have something to write, just to take a quick half a minute and just write down anything that you noticed. We're going to be talking about journaling as self-discovery, journaling as self-care, journaling for reflection. And if you don't have anything to write with, that's okay. You can just journal in your mind. Thank you for being here. Thank you. In a little while, after we have our guest authors introduce themselves and we have a little bit of conversation, we'll invite people to share. You could share something that you might have seen just now or anything about any of the conversation going on. We welcome all of that. So without further ado, I am welcoming Lily and Lisa. Lily, I'm going to start with you in your beautiful hat. Tell us why you're here. Why are you in the circle right now? And how did we get so lucky?
You're so sweet. I got this great visual through your meditation of a real reaching out, in these boxes of love, because they can be, right? And we can create intimacy in these spaces and possibility in these spaces. And I think that's what COVID has taught us, is that we as humans won't stop. We're going to connect. We're going to find ways of connecting and reconnecting no matter what.
Mm. I love that, Lily. It's so beautiful. And that's so very much you, you know, I've never met you in person, but I feel so connected to you. Tell us about your book, your work, and maybe just a little snippet of what journaling means to you.
Well, I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity through Brenda and Mango to, first of all, even birth Giving Grief Meaning, my book. It has really launched me personally in ways I hadn't imagined and gone out into the world in ways that I hadn't imagined. And, you know, nowadays, self-care is getting some hard knocks. And I like to say we're all in the same storm. Some of us are in yachts, some of us are in small boats, some of us are barely treading water. But no matter where we are in life, self-care is important. And that's what Giving Grief Meaning is fundamentally about. And, you know, Viktor Frankl writes about how prisoners in death camps, you know, found ways to celebrate their existence. And that's the fundamental work here. And I'm just excited to talk about writing for self-development, writing for going deeper. And I was especially interested in meeting Lisa. I have a tween, and we are going through this book together. And it sparked some conversations. Some of them are like, wow, you know that and you're 11? But I don't think we would be there without the tool that is the book. And sometimes we go completely off the page and new conversations sprout up. So I'm just excited for today.
That makes me so happy. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lily, we look forward to hearing plenty more all about you, your work, and how Lisa's book has impacted you. So thank you for that introduction, though. Lisa, how did we get so lucky to have you here?
Well, it's interesting because, well, first of all, I have to say that doing that just calming mindfulness exercise was really lovely, because I've been so like harried and busy, as I mentioned to you, and I kept going like, I'm sorry, I'm never emailing you back. But so that was just really nice to take a moment to focus. And when you said like, what brought you here, I thought, like, at the most basic level, what brought me here is the fact that I am so incredibly fortunately privileged to get to be a writer. Because if I wasn't a writer, I wouldn't be part of this community and I wouldn't be sitting here. And as many of us here are writers, it's something that I think that if you're a writer, you can't help but write. That it just, you have to. And just what a beautiful thing to be in community here with other writers, and just what a privilege really it is to be able to have that be part of my life. So.
Oh, Lisa. Wow, that's beautiful. Tell us, I know that you do all kinds of writing, and Lily's held up your one book. I know you have many others. Want to talk a little bit about your work?
Sure. I consider myself a free range writer in the sense that so many authors, they just, you know, they are very focused on one genre. I mean, you know, especially novelists or people who write nonfiction, you know, whatever it is, people really stay in their lane for the most part when you're a writer. But I just have so many different interests, and maybe I am too flitty and distracted, but I feel like, oh, I want to write this, and then I'll write that, and then that something else will spur my interest, and so then I'll write something else, and then in the midst of it, I've written a couple of novels that have been really kind of more of like heart soul projects. But I started out as a children's book writer. I was a longtime children's book editor, and this one author that I'd worked with was writing a couple books, and she said that she realized that she couldn't write a book without me because I'd always edited all of her books. And so she asked me if I would co-author instead, because it was for a different publisher. And so I did, and that's kind of how I entered into the world of writing. Not long after that, my mom passed away, and it was a, huge event in my life because my mom and I were incredibly close. And so then the first novel I wrote was very much about mother-daughter relationships and choosing to be happy in life no matter what your circumstances are. That one's called Katerina's Ring. And just a lot of family history was interwoven in there. And then separately, I love gardening. Like, I know a lot of people here just love the outdoors. And so I got into the meaning of Victorian flowers. And so then I ended up writing a book about that. And so like, I really am kind of all over the place. And then separately, I am very active in anti-human trafficking, and I'm actually on a nonprofit about it. And so then I wrote a book that's called Across the Deep that is very, very much about anti-human trafficking, but it's told through the eyes of both somebody local here who had been trafficked and somebody who had been trafficked from Thailand. So, but that one too, even though it's a little bit heavier, I have to say it's all about hope and healing, because that's kind of, I have to say, really the theme of my life is that no matter what is happening in your life, you can choose you can choose the way you react to it. So you can choose whether to be happy or to heal or, not. So.
Wow.
Oh, and then of course the journal. So.
That's interesting that Lisa, that you brought up something that's very Viktor Frankl. It's interesting that he's like the guest, because Lily had quoted him, and then what you basically said, like, you can choose your response, you can choose to be happy no matter what. That was what he was saying, and how he conducted himself when he was in the camps and the Nazis, and he's still, so anyway, I'm intrigued by the Viktor Franklness that's being brought to the table, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Brenda, you just took the words out of my mouth. It just happened. I was a call this morning where Man's Search for Meaning, that Viktor Frankl book, was a big topic of conversation. So I feel like this is so beautiful. What is it, Brenda? What's the word?
Synchrodestiny.
Synchrodestiny.
Synchrodestiny. That sounds like a Brenda-ism.
I know. Monk. It was Monk. He brought it to us, but I try to use it every day.
It's a good one.
So I know we're going to have both Lily and Lisa share some things they brought to read, but I'd love to have Brenda, and you're already unmuted, so I'm just going to have you share. I love your behind the scenes stories about our authors.
Oh, yes. Well, I believe that Lily was sent to me by her agent because, like, I was going through an enormous loss, the loss of my partner, and I was just wandering in the weeds. And she had been handling it, dealing with it, healing herself, her family, doing the work, her methodology about like honoring the loved one, and like learning and growing, and so like I feel like that was a personal gift to me, so thank you, Lily, for that. And I feel like Lily, I'm going to keep my eye on her, because I just know that that there's even more books, like more wisdom. Like, I just think that something's going to come out of left field, and that we're all going to be like, wow, I didn't see that coming. But I would like to be the one that says, I did see it coming. I don't know what it is, like a podcast that she does that goes crazy. Like, I don't know what it is, but something wonderful to come. And Lisa, I know because like an old sort of colleague buddy that worked at Chronicle Books and then in other publishers was talking to Chris McKinney, the CEO founder of Mango, and said, my friend Lisa McGinnis, like, maybe you want to talk to her because she's very creative and she has her own little publisher, Yellow Pair Press. And he just sensed that there was some destiny. And so Lisa actually is not just a writer, she's creative director at Mango, and is just so wildly, wonderfully creative. We had I'm not very creative before coffee. And so we had an early morning brainstorm meeting, and like, she just rocked it and had like just incredible like ideas and how to put it together and everything. And I was just sitting there feeling lucky and blessed. So I think I would say I'm just lucky and blessed, and that's how they're here too.
Oh,
Thank you, Brenda. That is so sweet. And I have to say, Carmen Fortunato, who is here, is I have reeled her in on our brainstorm plan too, Brenda. So we're all one here.
Yes. Synchro destiny.
Synchro destiny, man.
and I just went, Brenda, when you were speaking, it just also reminded me of the kind of say it now element that I've never thought of before about this. But again, in the spirit of self-reflection, here we are. I really love this, like really being able to honor Lily and Lisa and their journey and how they landed here and their relationship to you and to Mango. There's something so beautiful, again, about when we have the space to do that, which unfortunately, I don't think we have enough space in our lives that we do that. So I just wanted to acknowledge you, Brenda, for that, because you do bring in this like celebration element. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Lily, back to you, dear. I know you've got some really big things planned to read to us. Can you share with us what you brought?
Yes, I'd like to read from chapter 7 in Giving Grief Meaning, Affirmations and Prayers. And I've read it before, but I think it's worth repeating because it directly deals with journaling. And I feel like I believe the saying that, the pain pushes until the vision pulls, or there's nothing more painful. Maya Angelou said that there's nothing more painful than an untold story stuck inside of you. So for me, I had to write to save my life, and I can see that my life is saved. I'm here, and I'm a positive and healing presence when I'm at my best. And I bring that out into the world and bring it to others so that they can tell their stories. And so many stories have come about through this work that I know they say compare, despair, but my grief is small in comparison to the stories that have come out through this work. And it's such a gift to be able to bear witness to other people's struggles and to watch others grow and find hope again. So that's where this is all taken me. So I will read from Affirmations and Prayers. I've got to get on my old lady readers, or how about seasoned beautiful woman readers?
Yeah.
Wise. It's for women who are wise. Right?
So here we go. And New Thought is another thread that brought Brenda and me together. So here we go. According to Ernest Holmes, founder of the Science of Mind philosophy, if we change our thinking, we can change our lives. One of the ways we can do this is to use affirmations to change our thought patterns. So far, we've explored the power of thought by using our friend Annette as an example. But what exactly is an affirmation? It is a positive statement we can make about ourselves and the environment. Using affirmations can help us move through the darkness and into a more grounded and centered space. I use affirmations in every aspect of the Kara-inspired grouping of qualities. They are the bedrock of the Kara meditations and are woven. Oh, you guys, I I apologize. I really do. But that is not where I wanted to go. I don't know.
The changing your thoughts and change your life, though, it continues the Viktor Frankl theme.
Yes,
Yes.
it did. But if you'll allow me, will you allow me to shift gears? Because this book is more once you're really there through the book, and you'll be lost. So forgive me for this mistake, but I believe I can take you on a better journey from here. Metaphysical communities believe that each of us can make our lives a living heaven or a living hell. If you move away from alignment and goodness, you're in hell. If you move towards alignment and what is good in the world, you're in heaven. Some say that the opposite of fear is faith. When we have faith, we believe that the stoplights will turn from red to green, the traffic will move, and somehow we will get to work on time. Now, here we go. The late Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist, author, and Holocaust survivor, told us that in the death camps, prisoners found a way to grow plants, to play games, and they even laughed sometimes. It was their way of staying aligned. When I am feeling less than human and the world seems like a gigantic blood-sucking tick, it helps me to write down a list of what is working in my life. I make sure to find at least 5 things, even if they're as basic as my house slippers are comfortable, I have a nice bed to sleep in, I have a few hours to write, and I haven't caught a cold this season. My life is filled with art and love. If I can't find the words to summon gratitude, chanting kirtan, practicing yoga also help me immensely. I do a little of this work daily because my spiritual practice is about having faith and being in alignment with myself, other people, and the world at large. Now that my husband and I have 2 beautiful daughters, I hope they will stay aligned to the divine mother, father, God, and the universe as they grow into adulthood. I want life to be kind to them. When it knocks them down, I hope they can find faith in their alignment with the universe. I want them to be able to conjure a sense of hope, a sense that all is well. To help my girls foster a feeling of alignment and reverence for life, I created a butterfly hatchery with them that I learned about from my friends at the local Waldorf school. I ordered a kit from insectlore.com, and together we watched the caterpillars grow and change. They started off so small. If I didn't know they were there, I might have swept them up without a second thought. They looked like wet mud that I might scrape off the bottom of my shoe, and then whammy, drum roll. They grew into hairy centipede-like creatures with the ability to construct a cocoon or chrysalis around themselves. The process is revelatory and totally out of anyone's control. When I began this project, I was a wreck over the caterpillars. I paced like a nervous dad waiting for a baby to be born. Surely these cocoons aren't going to make it, I thought to myself, obsessively checking the netted habitat the kit provided. The fruit gunk they were eating didn't seem like enough. The conditions aren't right, I thought. My hemming, hawing, and relentless pacing proved to be for naught. One day, when I forgot for a moment, when I wasn't looking, the chrysalises began to transform into butterflies. "Mommy, come see," my then 7-year-old called out to me. "A butterfly is here." We walked down the hall to the hatchery, and lo and behold, a butterfly had arrived. It happened out of my control. All I did was provide the right conditions. I marveled that the process had taken about a month. And then it happened in a snap. In fact, after the first butterfly was born, the entire butterfly community appeared fast, like microwave popcorn. They had evolved, leaving behind their shells, which were dry and empty. They got to live butterfly lives independent of my obsessive worrying, all except for one that stayed stuck in limbo. It never completely shed its caterpillar cocoon. While the other butterflies were strong, the poor little guy was lugging around half his cocoon, and he lay withered and damp, bleeding red, his monarch-colored wings looking like wet tissue paper. There was nothing I could do. Why did one caterpillar never get to enjoy a stint as a butterfly? He was given the same conditions as the others. He had the same shot at life. Had I handled the butterfly cage too roughly? Had my black cat Wonka scared him when she discovered the location and playfully swatted at the habitat? The what ifs and shoulda, coulda, wouldas began to swirl in my mind. Why was that poor little butterfly never meant to spread its wings? Maybe he was just passing through. We gave it our best shot, and I realized it was pointless to ruminate over the one butterfly that didn't make it. I was able to glimpse the bigger picture. Just like that butterfly, our precious Kara wasn't meant to have a full human experience. And I have to continue on. I may not like the hand I've been dealt, but when I understand that there is a bigger picture, a universal alignment that exists regardless of my obsessive worrying, I can find some peace.
Oh, Lily,
Thank you.
thank you. Tell us a little bit more about why did you want to share that part with us right now?
Well, I wanted to move us all towards a sense of alignment, because the world as it stands, and I know I've read this before, and it is sort of, I'll acknowledge it's my go-to piece, but at the same time, the world is more than upside down now. I mean, people's homes are being blown up, and we're watching it all over social media. And you know, from this vantage point, I can obsess over my own privilege and say, what do I have to give? What do I have to give? Sure, it's easy for me to find alignment and feel a moment of being held when I have time and my space isn't being blown up and I'm not running for my life, you know, but we all need these tools. We all need the tools for alignment. We all need to be more like Viktor Frankl or Anne Frank, who was stuck in an attic, or the African students who are so desperately trying to get out of Ukraine right now and being discriminated against. You know, no matter where we are. And so it just felt really important.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you. And thank you so much for bringing everything in to the circle, you know, because it is everything that's on all of our minds, I imagine, you know, so thank you for that. Thank you. Lisa, before you read, I was just wondering, did you have anything you wanted to add or thoughts that came up while Lily was sharing? Oh, but you're muted.
Sorry. Definitely. First of all, thank you for being so vulnerable. I mean, that's an intense story to share. And I'm sure every time you share it, you have to relive it a little bit. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things that came to mind is when you said that you have to provide the right conditions. And then earlier you said that when you and this might have been before people popped on, it might have just been when it was you and me, I can't remember, but that you and your daughter have had these really amazing conversations and that have come from the questions in the book, in the journal. And I think part of that is exactly what you said, where it's trying to create the right conditions. And so in this case, for you, it's creating the conditions so that you and your daughter can share in a way that you maybe wouldn't have if you're both sitting there looking at your screens, or if you're in the middle of having a hairy day or whatever. But when you have to stop and pause and focus, then you've created the conditions that are there for sharing. So that's one thing that came to mind. And then also, before I read, and my reading, I have to warn you, is not beautiful and eloquent the way Lily's is, because it's a journal. But one of the things that I really wanted to do in writing this journal is create something that people who want to journal but haven't known how to journal can do. Because especially when I was a kid and in middle school, I just thought the people who journaled were like the cool kids. You know what I mean? Like the people who were like deep and sensitive and profound. And I was just like your basic run of the mill kid. And so I got a couple of blank journals and I would open them up and I'd be like, yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing really that's deep and profound that I want to write about, which I think is why guided journals are so incredibly helpful for people like me who, you know, need a little nudge. And so anyway, what I want to talk a little bit about is when Sherry reached out to me, she said one of the things that to consider is how journaling can provide self-care and positivity practice. And there was one other thing. Let me think about it for a moment. I have it in here. Self-care. Oh, and compassion. And so I chose before, in the beginning of the journal, I put some instructions to the mothers and the daughters because I wanted to make sure this provided a safe space. And so I just thought I would read a couple of the snippets that I think promote those three elements, and then a few of the questions in particular that I thought promote those same elements. So as far as self-care, you know, I think one of the things that people need if for any sort of self-care is to express your needs, whether you're expressing them to yourself or you're expressing them to whoever you need them from. So in this case, it really is trying to provide these boundaries in a safe space. So one of the things I suggested is to decide exactly who is allowed to see this book. Can others take a peek, or is it important that the journal stay strictly between the two of you? Trust is the key factor in creating this safe space. So, and I think with self-care too, you have to trust yourself to know what you need, and you have to trust others when you go to them that they're going to be able to hear you. And so that's, you know, that's one of the elements I wanted to add. As far as compassion, I think that is one of the things, and Lily, tell me if you agree with this, that is the trickiest thing for mothers and daughters when your daughter is a tween. There's like, the compassion level is like a -4 on the Richter scale. You know what I mean? Tweens, I mean, of course, the mothers, we have tons of compassion. The daughters,
Time.
what do you think, Lily?
It's a really, really tough time.
Yeah.
And times have changed so much. I mean, they have access to so much through the media, things I can't even imagine. So just to even carve out the time.
Right.
And one of the great things of being with this journal, I'll hold it up for you since
Oh, thank you.
is that we'll start on one subject and she'll get bored of it, but it births other subjects. And I love how there are pages for doodles and thoughts. And I've learned so much code, like, you know, beyond LMAO or TTYL. And then we got into a very adult discussion, which I will keep sacred because we did discuss rules, but when we're guided, that guidance can gently nudge us towards greater exploration. And that's what the questions also in Giving Grief Meaning are there to do. They're questions on alignment provided at the end of the chapter. And who knows what other questions get answered through that. And that's what's so great.
Yeah.
That these guided questions do provide the conditions.
Yeah, good. And then one of the other things that Sherry had talked about is compassion. And so one of the things that I suggested is that mothers and daughters make a pact to be honest and non-judgmental. Don't get mad. This is the place to be real. Moms, your daughter has to feel that she can tell you what's what without getting punished. If she thinks she'll get a lecture or that you'll be angry with her for something, she won't feel free to be honest. Daughters, your mom is a person outside of being a mother, and she has to know that you will allow her to be herself without you judging her or being rude if you don't like what she's written. And then as far as positivity, I wrote, lastly, and most importantly, remember that you're each other's biggest fans, that you're on each other's teams, and will be there to treasure the insights into each other's hearts as you share this journal. Writing about the details of your lives will bring a new respect, openness, and special friendship to you both. So
To me, that's very deep. It doesn't have to be prosy to go deep. Like, that's very deep. Sometimes that seemingly simple instructions can be hard to get to. So to have them provided offers like the scaffolding for a really deep exploration. And I'm happy to have it, and like to enlist my daughter more. I offered to buy one for her friend and her mother so it can become cool, you know, because so much for tweens is about being cool.
Absolutely.
And who wants to look at being real with what they have to face? I mean, they're not even going to know what their classmates look like by the time the masks are off. So circling back to journaling, I mean, now more than ever, if writing speaks to, I feel like if you're here and you're listening to this, writing speaks to you. You know, it's your way into the self. Other people draw, illustrate, take a run. For me, writing is a way into the self, and people who gravitate to me, and I would imagine you with this particular piece will feel the same. So if you're looking to practice and you're listening to this moment we're all sharing, don't be afraid to have, as Anne Lamott says, the shitty first draft. Like, do as Julia Cameron advocates, you know, do the morning pages, write 3 pages, even if it's just like, I'm staring at the wall and I don't like it, you know, but somehow the journaling process draws us into the beautiful moment that Sherry had us start off with. You know, it draws us into the natural world. It draws us into our surroundings. And if this is the tool that speaks to you, just do it. Do it, even if it's, you know, shitty. That's my word. That's what I got for y'all.
I love that. And if I could just echo something that I feel is so important about, again, back to your journal, Lisa, and about it not being shallow, because when you were talking about and reading from there, I was applying it in a bigger way, you know, not just, there might be other people here. I don't have a daughter. My son is, you know, 22. So, you know, he's not going to do it with me, but I was thinking about myself as the other person that you were talking to. And I think what you said to me was so profound about, especially that piece of the non-judgmental, bringing the compassion, because I know for a lot of people, I'm a coach, and so I work with a lot of people, that sometimes when awareness arises, the first thing that happens is that beating up. Oh, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe. And it's like, oh, no, you know. So what you were saying, you know, the non-judgmental part when we're in that self-discovery process is huge. So much of what you said, I think, applied in general.
Oh, good. Thank you. Sometimes when I feel like I've, you know, done something that I'm mentally giving myself the smackdown for, I always think, if a character in a novel did this, would it be interesting? You know what I mean? Like, try and view it from the outside and stop being so critical, you know?
That's a good tip. I love that.
Yeah, I tried it on my kids, and my daughter was like, stop saying that, Mom.
I think you should write one for couples.
Oh.
I think it would be an interesting process. I think there should be like a series, like couples, friends, all manner.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great idea.
I mean, just like the name work and giving grief meaning is about all manner of suffering. Grief has many forms. Our process has many forms. And so many of us just need a launching off point. Like permission to write, permission to go there, really.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautifully said, Lily. I'm just wondering if there's anybody who wants to jump into the conversation, or maybe have a question for Lily or Lisa, comment that you want to make, something you're noticing. Ms. Rachel.
I just, hearing about this journal and being mother-daughter, it just came into me. It's like, oh, I bet you could use that for inner child work too. Like if you, you went through trauma in those years, those pivotal, important years as a little girl, as a young girl, to write it as that mother-daughter, to write both. And one, giving the words of, one writing it from that perspective, the older, wiser, and then that youth perspective to try to find the healing there, to connect those two. So I'm like, now I really want to get your journal to try to do it, to see if it would work, how it would work, because, there's so much healing. And sometimes what we need to heal is something that we need to say to ourselves.
Yeah. No, I think that's an incredibly interesting idea. And I think I love that idea. And I think in particular about having compassion for yourself and where you've made mistakes in your life, whether it's in your childhood or if it's yesterday, and letting go of some of the baggage that comes from that, and instead viewing your own self through a compassionate eye, and looking ahead to like, well, what do I want to learn from that? What do I want to take from that? So I don't just end up in a cycle of doing it over and over again.
I bet you it would work to break some serious patterns, that if writing that to yourself, I bet that would really help break some patterns.
You have to report back to us, Rachel. All
I know,
right.
I'm going to do it.
Love that.
Might I add something too?
Of course.
Lisa, I had taken your journal home with me. I recently made a trip back to see my parents, and my mom and dad are both, getting up there in age, and the season in our life is shifting. And I had taken the journal back because I was writing a piece for Woo Jr., on it. And mom now embarking upon her 80s, actually went through some of that together. So just like what you guys were talking about, the healing and the circle of life, for us to be able to see each other in a different view. And it wasn't the intention not to open that for us to have a conversation together, but it really sparked such beautiful, sweet conversations, Lisa. So thank you.
Wow, that is so great. Thank you for telling me that. I love that.
I want to say something. How do I do it? Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted. Hop on in.
Great. I'm so glad to be here. I want to say a few things. Thank you very much. I'm an older woman now, surprisingly enough. I didn't imagine I'd ever be 81. And all my life, I've been invincible and a woman warrior and a feminist revolutionary, and was a role model for women and for myself, and went through all sorts of battles. And then the last 3 years, I had the most wonderful romance of my life, and he just left me. So what I want to do is write about it. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't want to cry. I'm thinking of doing a piece about what it's like to break up over 80. Like, how is it different? I have more wisdom now. And there's I don't know if you remember Entasaki Shangi, for colored girls who have contemplated suicide when the rainbow was enough. It was a voice drama, and different Black women talking about their experiences. And one really moving piece was somebody got away with all of my stuff and it's not his. He must give me my stuff back. And that's how I'm feeling, like I let my stuff go.
Mm.
So
Well,
I am journaling and, you know, I've published a lot of stuff over the years in different venues. So I think this could be useful for people to come out, see how I come out of this.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the things that is actually painfully beautiful when people go through difficult situations is that then they can give other people either hope or advice or compassion or understanding. And so if you write about what you're going through, that can give somebody else who's then going through it a sense of understanding, you know. But I'm sorry you're having to go through that. Pain is terrible. You're muted now.
Oh, sorry, Diane. Let me see if we can unmute you. While we're doing that, Lily, did you also want to jump in, and then I'll see if I can get Diane to unmute?
I think I'm unmuted now.
Okay, let's hear what Lily has to say, and then
Okay,
Diane will
great.
unmute.
I feel compelled to say, let's be gentle with ourselves and be gentle with yourself. I didn't write Giving Grief Meaning until 8 years after my infant daughter, Kara, passed away from SIDS. I had a classic writer's block, and that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes just even writing one or two, maybe you can't do the morning pages, sometimes just writing a couple sentences together just sets that intent, or just breathing.
Right.
And being with the breath. And it will come when it's ready to come, and it's all new. And the shock of sudden loss and grief, for me, it rendered me paralyzed. And I know so many of us are really paralyzed through the experience. There's a great, a colleague of mine, Megan Devine, has a website, and it normalizes many different behaviors that we have in grief so that you feel less alone. And then we also have a Giving Grief Meaning collective with people from all walks of life that, and that's through the work of Giving Grief Meaning, and the book. People come on and express their grief in the way that they can in that moment. And it may just be writing, I feel sad, and noticing someone else's sadness. And I love it because people of a variety of all different persuasions come into that group. Some have PhDs and some haven't finished high school. And everyone is able to express, and really a beautiful thing. And it's a thread that binds us all together. So be gentle with yourself.
Thank you so much. The other thing is the writerly part of me, kind of the Virginia Woolf syndrome, because at the same time that this I finished my book that I've been working on for years, which is my life work, really, of stories from my childhood through working with women in Afghanistan and so on and so forth. And so it's like, Virginia Woolf always got depressed when she finished a book unless she had a new project going. And I am having trouble getting a new project going. And writing about my grief seems like a really sad thing to do. I want to write about something more positive, or maybe work with Afghan women who are in exile over here, something like that. So it's like a trifecta. I'm older suddenly. I didn't expect to be this old. I lost my book project, and I've lost my lifetime partner. So somehow I have to write my way out of this.
And that you know that that's where you got to go to write your way out of it shows that you have your tool. You have the tool that works for you, that you know that that's where the drive is. You know you have to write your way out of this. So where you go isn't really the point. Now it's just writing. It's writing whatever you can, even if it's just describing what's around you at any
Thank
given.
you all so much. I didn't mean to get weepy. I would like these tears to stop, but I appreciate all your support.
Oh, the tears are absolutely fine, Diane. And I just wanted to point out, if you haven't opened the chat, there's some beautiful things people are saying to you, and I hope you'll take a quick look at that. Thank you. No, I think that's so beautiful. And this is kind of what we're talking about, right? It's like, it's that willingness to be vulnerable. It's a willingness to feel things. And Diane, I thought that was just such beautiful role modeling of allowing feelings to come through.
And it goes back to creating the right conditions, like you're in a safe space, you're amongst, other writers and people who, and grief is unfortunately universal. We've all experienced it and we all can empathize with it. So.
And it feels like it'll never end. But I like to acknowledge that there's light at the end of the tunnel of my darkness, even if I can't feel it, even if I can't see it, that there is that light and that there is that possibility of renewal and hope. And I know our time is short, but writing affirmations can be a big part of the healing process that then gives birth to what we really need to write. But if I'm spiraling out of control, sometimes the next best thing is going to affirmations and affirming and acting as if the world is a good place, even when I feel that it's not. And not to shamelessly plug my book, but I will plug my book. If you're not feeling like you can write, sometimes when we're in the throes of grief, that gets stuck. There are sample affirmations that you can just pick a few and go there, and then maybe in time come to the questions. It's a really slow process for many of us to build again.
Lily, I just want to say, because that's not shamelessly promoting your book. What it's doing is you've written that book and it's a support, it's a service, it's something that can help all of us to heal in different ways. And so I guess I just wanted to say that as someone who has really delighted and loved your book and gotten so much healing from it, that it's important. And I just also want to point out, Bree has been behind the scenes putting the links and sharing with people so that you can easily find Lily's books and Lisa's. So no, that was very important. And I know you just said it, and it's true. Our hour has really just gone by so quickly. I just wanted to ask Lisa and Lily, each of you, just as any final ending thoughts before we close our circle, anything that you feel like didn't get said that you want to say. Lisa, we'll start with you.
No, I don't think so. No, I think, nope, really I don't. Couldn't come up with anything profound on the fly, sorry.
No, thank you. And also just thank you, your presence and your laughter. Maybe that's what you were meant to offer us just now, is just that, we need it all, right? The grief, but also that balance. So maybe your laughter was what we needed.
Oh, well, thank you. And you are such a good facilitator.
Oh.
So appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Lily, how about you? Was there anything that you wanted to say?
I can always say something and it comes out crooked and backwards, writing if writing is for you, it can free you. Freedom comes on the page, and go for it. And if you feel stuck, that's okay. It's okay to
Aw.
be stuck.
That's so beautiful. You two have both. Thank you so much. You've both brought just so much, exactly what we hoped, right? Oh, Brenda, come on in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel like mention this every once in a while, every Wednesday, but like, honestly, Sherry, you've created such a safe space. I mean, every week I get healing from it. There's like illuminating conversations and everything. And then, what Diane shared today, I feel like she has a group of allies now, and and hopefully that will help, in this time where it feels bad. We've all had breakups and it feels terrible. And, there's like a whole cycle of emotions, but like, I'm glad that we could be here for you. I'm glad you came. I'd like to see you again. But I just really want to thank you, Sherry, because you make it such a safe circle of safety. It's such a safe space that we can bring up anything. And that's you, Sherry. So thank you.
Oh, well, and I received that with great gratitude. And I would be remiss if I didn't say it's all of us. It's all of us. I'm looking around at each of your beautiful faces, the presence that you bring, the compassion, the care. I saw it when Diane was talking, and I was looking at people. Like, there's a great, great deep listening and presence that you each bring. Please never forget what a huge gift that is. I've got a book that's all about gifts, and that is the most important one, is that kind of presence. And Lily and Lisa started us off talking about creating conditions, and you all help create this condition. And please know that, and please come back. We're here every Wednesday. It's always amazing. It's always wonderful and supportive. And, I've been thinking of it myself as sort of like this beautiful, like, social club where we get to talk about things that matter, and we get to like uplift each other. So thank you, Brenda and Bree and everyone who's here from Mango, Shelby and Liz Marie and Krishna. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone else. Lisa from Mango. We love you, Mango.
Love you, Mango.
Love you too.
Hi, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lily and Lisa. You guys are marvelous. Come back again.
Couples activity journal, please.
All right, I'll work on it.
Okay. All right.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.